All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 12th episode of DevMar Dots. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about how to drive developer product adoption as a developer advocate. And here with me is Chris from Digital Ocean. Please, Chris, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Chris. I am a senior developer advocate at DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean, where we make a bunch of amazing cloud services, and we have an app platform to deploy amazing products and manage databases and droplets and amazing things. So yeah, I'm a senior developer advocate over there. I help out a lot with community and product adoption and helping developers where they're at. I'm based out of the Metro Detroit area in Michigan in the United States. And yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So excited to have you here. So before we start, can you share your journey with us? How did you get started in developer advocacy? What were your roadblock and what were your favorite moments?
Hmm. Oh, I could write a whole book on this, which I might do. If you were to ask a friend of mine, I used to work with her, and she said she was always going to write a book on my life journey. But it's because there's so many different avenues of things. Um, but I got my start in developer advocacy. Oh, many moons ago. I started to get involved in the Detroit developer community. I think maybe back in like 2012, 2013, 2011. And there were not a whole lot of meetups in the city of Detroit. There just weren't. Um, Fast forward a couple years after that, the meetups blew up in Detroit and in the surrounding communities. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to attend a meetup. I want to, meet some people that have the same passions and that are like-minded like I am. So I started getting involved in the Detroit meetup communities, and then it went from attending those to working with a well-known group called GDI, and I was working with GDI as a teacher assistant for workshops. So I would be, on site helping people out, like intro to HTML and CSS classes that they would run on the weekend. And then I moved over to running workshops and giving talks myself. So I was doing that for a little while, and then I started submitting conference talks. I would say 2015, 2014, 2015, 2016. I started submitting to conferences because I wanted to talk about technology, because that's what we do. We advocate for our users and we advocate for the technology. I wanted to start doing that at a bigger level, right, than just the meetups. Because I was writing blog posts and I was doing the meetup scene. I was organizing meetups and running meetups. So I want to do it at a bigger level. So I got into one event and I couldn't make it, unfortunately, for reasons that were outside of my control. And then the second event that I got accepted to was Code Mash, which is a big event that happens here in the United States in Sandusky, Ohio. It's a big event. And I had to give two talks. And as a first time conference speaker, I was freaking out. But I did it. And I think that year I did like maybe six conference talks, kind of like an unofficial developer advocate, talking about cool technology that I loved and how to use cool technology, right? I've been a front end developer for 20 between in the span of 25 to 30 years. I've been a front end developer. I'd say more or less 25, 26, 27 years. So I've always been on the front end side of things. And I want to talk about all the cool stuff that you can do on the front end. So I had like an unofficial title of developer advocate. I was doing the work without getting paid for it. And then fast forward to a year later, or a year or two later, I was doing 30 events all over the world. I was speaking in Romania and Bulgaria, and I've been to London, England, and all over the States and a few places in Canada. And then in 2020, a role came up for a company I always wanted to work for here in Michigan, and I was living in Denver at the time. And friends of mine were actually in the DevRel space already, and they put the team together and they were running the team and they were looking for people to fill the advocate spots. And I was kind of on the short list. So I got hired in for my first role, official title role, as a developer advocate in 2020. And then I've just stayed in that specific role since then, and now I'm at DigitalOcean as a senior DA. So that's kind of been like the journey from front end developer to community member to official developer advocate.
Wow, that is an awesome journey. That's an awesome experience. And yeah, I wow, that's really, really awesome. So just to be sure, can you hear me well, and am I still frozen? Because at some point I was frozen.
No, I can hear you. There just seems like there's a big delay from the time I stop talking to when the message fully gets over to you. But I'm going on your cue. I'm just watching, and then I'll pick up where you leave off.
All
What up,
right.
Ariel? I want to say a big shout
Okay.
out to everybody in the chat. I see you,
Hi
April, Jim. Jim, I actually lived in Denver for a
everyone.
year, so I know all about that. And then Ariel and I used to work together at Split. So mad love to Ariel.
Hi Jim. Hi. How about we get down to develop. So, in your opinion, what do you think, or what does it mean to adoption?
There are a lot of things. I think we lost her. But I'm going to keep talking. I think that to drive developer adoption and product adoption, I really feel that you have to be, I'm very much of the mindset that you have to be a developer in a previous life before you step into the developer advocate role. Right? Like I said, I've been a front end developer my whole entire life, and I've built a career on being a specialist, working on specific pieces of the front end and going through those pain points and going through those toils, going through the bottlenecks and hitting roadblocks. I've been there. I've done it. I've been on call at 3 in the morning to fix things. Right? You have to be able to empathize and really recognize where the issue is, what the issue could be, and how to remedy that. Right? And that's really how you get product adoption and developer adoption. Being true to the community, instilling that trust in the community is a great way to do that, and being able to offer amazing insight into that product is a good way of doing it. I think we're rolling solo here right now, which is fine. We can riff on this, we can vibe on this. Mad props to everybody that's joining us from all over. Jim, Ariel, April, like I was saying, if anybody has any questions, I think they will pop up on screen from the chat. Plus, I can also see them in the chat. So yeah, what is everybody else's journey? What's everybody doing? I would love to know. I'm sure everybody out there in the World Wide Web would want to know. So if you can hear me, let me know in the chat, and we can just vibe on it until my amazing host comes back. And I'm gonna drink some coffee. We're just vibing. This is one of my favorite movies, Trick or Treat. That's Sam Trick or Treat right there. So yeah, like I was saying, if anybody has any questions, Like I said, Jim, I saw that you are from the Denver area. I did. I lived in Denver for a year. I moved out to Denver in 2019, and then I came back in 2020. So, but I'm Michigan born and raised. Even though I have a Phillies hat on, um, I am Detroit through and through. I just love history a lot, and I had to buy the hat when I was in Philadelphia with my girlfriend because we were at the Phillies game. So I love this bell. I completely agree. Always a great challenge. And enterprise is one of those things too, right? That's more of the top down approach opposed to the bottom up approach. Your bottom up is your developers and kind of like your startups, right? Those are the people that you really want to target. Enterprise level, it's a little bit difficult to do that, right? Because at the enterprise, at that top level, you have the people that are signing and writing the checks, right? But based on the feedback from the developer level, that is how you're going to drive that adoption. That's how you're going to get buy-in at that enterprise level, right? From your hobbyists and your developers and your people that are working with the product from the ground up, right? That's kind of where the basis is because the community is going to rise up through those levels to hit that enterprise uh, person, the executive, whatever the case may be, and then that is going to be the final decision maker. So I completely agree with you that it is a good challenge. Sometimes it can be a difficult challenge too, right? It can be a really hard challenge. And I faced that at organizations, in a past life, trying to drive adoption to community members and answering questions and trying to convince people up in those executive levels to adopt those products based on the feedback that they get from their developers.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now? I I got disconnected from the call.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. So I I would move on to the next question. So, what do you think are the key factors that influence product adoption among developers?
Oh, I would say ease of use for one. Um, the ability to go from zero to hello world is a big piece of that, right? I'm no longer in the accessibility space as far as like speaking on accessibility um, topics and stuff like that in the community. Kind of walked away from that. But accessibility of the product is still a big piece of product adoption, right? If the user or the developer can't use the product, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to look somewhere else, right? So I think those are like the big things, and those kind of all fall under the umbrella of user experience, right? The How does it perform? Is it accessible? Do I have to really think to use it? Are the docs very, very concise? Do they make sense? Is it Are the docs not just for senior level developers, right? Are they easily consumable? Those are all the things I feel play a part in efficient product adoption in the community.
Oh yeah, sorry. I My mic was on mute, so I'm not sure if you heard me. But if you didn't, I
I
would,
didn't.
yeah, I would reiterate. Oh, all right. Also, okay. So I did say that yes, I agree with you on the key factors that influence um adoption among developers. So how would you approach community building to support product adoption?
Oh, let's see. How would I approach community to support product adoption? Oh, um, well, I think it boils down to listening, right? You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to have somewhat emotional intelligence or some level, right, of emotional intelligence. You have to be able to have and navigate those crucial conversations when they come up. But I think, and that all kind of just goes into listening, right?
Yeah.
To be able to support somebody, you have to listen. Like part of developer relations is it's in the name, right? Relationships. We're here to build relationships. I'll quote a buddy of mine who is an amazing developer advocate lead, DevRel lead. It's my buddy Shar, and this is paraphrased, of course, but he said, I think last year, the year before, he said, "We are in the business of developer relations. We are in the business of DevRel, right? It's in the name. Once you start pushing the tech too much, now you are in the world of dev tech, and that is not what DevRel is, right? It's relationships and community first. And what comes out of that is
Yeah.
the support for the product adoption, the support for the developer adoption by listening and not pushing. And that's kind of like where I stand wholeheartedly when it comes to that. Because like I was saying earlier, I've been a front end developer my whole life, and I'll be a front end developer probably forever. And I'll dabble here and there, whatever the case may be. But I've been there, right? I've been in those positions where I needed to, adopt a product, or a company or a team needed me and my team to kind of go with them on their journey of the product, right? It all boils down to being empathetic and listening. That is how you can support your community to drive that product adoption.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that. DevRel is all about building relationships, building communication, interacting with the devs first. And there's something that Francesco developer advocate from Daily Dev says, and it's build a connection or build trust with the developer first before you try to sell or promote your companies to within that community. Because if you just go into a community with the aim of just pushing the product or just promoting the product, the developers are less likely to adopt it than when you actually go in, give value, show them that you are more than just your company tool, and also look for a way to highlight the usefulness of that tool in their workflow, then they are more likely to adopt it. So yes, I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that sentiment, right? And what Francesco says, it's all about trust. And once you lose that trust, it is extremely hard to get back, because you just burned
True.
your reputation, right? You're hurting the company's reputation, because of breaking that trust with the community, right? It's something you don't want to do, and it's hard to get back. It's possible to get back,
Yeah.
but it's hard and it takes a lot of work, right? So don't make those mistakes from the beginning. Developers don't want to be sold to, right? If you want to be sold to, you go to product events and showcase events. You don't go to developer focused community events, right? You want to be there to hear about cool stuff, and chat with cool people. And that's what developers, at least me, I'm
True.
not going to speak for all of them, but that's what I care about, right? I don't want to be sold
Yeah.
to if I'm at a conference, unless I'm there to be sold to, right? I want to chat with
Yeah.
cool people and see what people are doing and get inspiration and say, hey, I'm going to build this cool thing because so and so was talking about it at this conference, right? Whether or not it uses their technology, I don't care. I just think it's really cool and I want to build it. And you know what? They didn't try to sell anything to me. That's where it matters.
I agree with that. So April asked, what tips do you have for getting people's attention with technology that's just a piece of their tech stack versus people that spend most of their time in the platform?
That's a great question. And I'm going to repeat it. What tips do you have for getting people's attention with technology that's just a piece of their stack versus people that spend most of their time in one platform? I think and this is where content kind of comes into play. I think creating engaging content around that, whether that's a piece of the stack or the full platform, right? There are a lot of awesome things that you can do in the world of CSS, right? I'm a big vanilla CSS purist, but there's a lot of cool things you can do with CSS, right? Now we're not talking about the whole entire front end stack, right? We're not talking about, HTML or the JavaScript pieces, right? We're just talking about a single piece of that stack, opposed to the whole platform. Now I'll plug DigitalOcean here just because it's just top of mind. We have so much that we can offer in, the DigitalOcean space, right? App platform is a part of our world that you can use to deploy applications, right? Whether that, JavaScript, etc. There's also cool things you can do inside of that platform to make that experience that much better, right? You could talk about those little pieces of, we'll call app platform a stack of app platform, or you could talk about all the cool stuff that you can do in app platform, not just deploying the application, but setting up a database, setting up auto scaling, setting up dedicated IP, right? You can do all of that inside app platform. So I think being able to understand what your developers want to hear about and then crafting content around that, whether it's a blog post, a stream, a tutorial, or a conference talk. I think that's the best way to approach it.
Oh wow. That was that was really insane. And I was gonna ask a question about content and how that plays a role in driving adoption, because I know it's one of the ways, like from my experience as a developer advocate, one of the way to promote adoption is to create content around that tools. So do you think that that's true, and how do you think that content can help in helping product adoption?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I am. This is a hill that I will die on. Content is a very important piece. It is, but the problem with content is if you don't have a community to consume it, you're yelling into the void, right? You can't be on a team where maybe you can. I personally wouldn't want to. It's extremely difficult to be on a team where you're just pumping out content every single week, right? Whether that's you or like you and somebody else, and like that's all you're doing. You're not engaging with the community. You're not at conferences. You're writing blog posts 2 or 3 a week, or 2 or 1 a week, and then building videos, right? And you're putting that out there for a non-existent community. I don't think that's efficient. I think you really need to get out there and be there, right? Talk about stuff online, build the brand recognition first, get people wanting to be engaged, build the community, and then start putting out that content. But you start putting out too much content, it looks spammy, right? And just like not being sold to, we don't want to be spammed with content being shoved down our throats
Yeah.
every single week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spacing it out is great. I love writing. I have a background in writing. I love creating and editing video. I love doing that. but there's a time and a place for it. And when you have a team and amazing leadership that understands developer relations, they also understand the why and the when and the how. And that, it doesn't mean that it's always all about content. It doesn't always mean that it's always all about X, Y, and Z, right? There needs to be a balance there. Content is key, but you have to have a community that needs to consume it, because if not, you're putting it out into the void, and you're yelling at the cloud in the sky, right? No pun intended.
Yeah.
On cloud services, right? But that's really just how I feel about it.
So now, what do you think that it's a great or a perfect content strategy to push out or to drive the adoption of a new tool?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? A DevRel team is made up of many different moving parts. You have your technical writers, you have your advocates, you have community people, you have dev marketing. I think that if it's in the cards to prioritize, maybe a blog post every 2 weeks on something, or working closely with the product team on launches. That way you can stay, in step with the product team and even the engineering team, staying in product with the product team and understanding the product, being in those meetings about cool features that are, becoming generally available to the public, and then brainstorming and working with them and the rest of your DevRel team on ways to come up with content. Right? I think that's an amazing thing. We did that at DO. Like, certain things were getting released as general availability in that platform, and I was helping to support the at platform team, and so I made video content around that. And then one of our technical writers took what I did and then wrote a blog post about it, right? But not consistently pushing stuff out. Unless you're a technical writer, then you're pushing content out all the time. Really good content. We have some amazing writers at DO that put out very, very quality content. I love it. I love all the blog posts and everything that we put out there for the community. But that's kind of where I would see it. And if like in the developer advocacy space, if you're a DA, maybe a blog post every 2 weeks or every couple weeks, whatever makes sense for the team and whatever is the priority, and whatever is kind of a part of the initiative at the time, I think should be taken care of. But there's nothing wrong with writing on your personal blog or writing on Dev2. You can do those things, right? As long as the stuff that you're talking about is publicly available, you can write to your heart's content. You know what I mean? So back to content being key, yes, but just pushing out content to do it, I think is a bad play.
I see. Noted then. Okay, so I hear a couple of developer advocates talk about developer feedback and how that can help improve the product or improve the tool or improve the um platform. So how important is developer feedback in shaping the product roadmap, and how can it be effective, and how can developer advocates use that to effectively gather and implement in the adoption process?
Yeah. So feedback is a big piece of it. And I kind of always push for the feedback, because are we building the tools for ourselves? Possibly, right? We might be. But at the end of the day, we're building tools for the users, right? We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what the users want unless we collect that feedback. So I have ran polls on Twitter and polls on LinkedIn. I've worked with teams, in the company to figure out, like, hey, listen, what is your team doing for a roadmap, right? What is on the docket for the rest of the year going into 2025 or whatever the case may be? And we'll generate ideas and talk about things. And then I personally will go to Twitter and try to get that feedback, right? I'll run a poll for 5 days. I'll run a poll on LinkedIn with a question and 4 specific answers, take that data back, compile it, and then hand it off to the team so they can help that will help them see what the community wants, see if what the community wants is already in the roadmap, and then possibly restructure and or redefine that roadmap based on community wants and needs. It's extremely important. And then being able to, if somebody ever hits you up on like Twitter or LinkedIn and they're having an issue, being able to document what their problem is. And this is if they don't go to like a support link.
Yeah.
If they hit you up first, you can take all that information, take it back to a team that it needs to be in, maybe put a doc together, hand that doc off, get some feedback from the team, take that feedback and take it right back to that community member and close that feedback loop, right? But keep it open just a little bit, because if they have other issues, they're going to come to you because, one, they trust you. Two, they know that you could get a speedy response, right? In whatever the time frame is, 24 hours, 2 days. So they're going to keep coming back to you, and that's going to just increase that reputation and increase that trust a little bit more. So yes, closing the feedback loop, but leaving it open just a little bit for any other feedback that comes through. It's an important piece, right? It's an important piece because people can file tickets all day long in the support system, right? And who knows how long that might sit? You never know. Like you just never know.
Yeah.
I think hitting up somebody in reasonable boundaries to get help, I think it's totally fine to do that, right? And if they're willing to help, great. I've done it. I've hit up friends of mine, and they went back to their organization and came back with an answer. Now, anytime I need help, I'm going to go directly to them if they have the time to help, right? That just instills that trust, not just with them, but their company even more, because it shows that at the company level they care, and the person that I'm speaking with really cares too.
I see. So now, speaking of this, I just had a question pop up in my head relating to developer onboarding. So I know that developer onboarding is very, very important, especially when trying to get devs to use a new tool or a new software. But can you explain how developer advocate or a DevRel team can make the onboarding process very smooth to encourage more developers to try out the new products?
Yeah. So one of the ways that I've seen work and even in my personal experience for other companies is having like something that's like an interactive tool, right? Where it's like a pop-up that says, okay, almost like a wizard, right? You have your instance of the product and you just kind of navigate through it step by step with, click on this button to do this, and this is what this does. And then once you click on that, it highlights the other part of the application, and it kind of walks you through how to use it. I think that's an amazing way of doing things. Working with your content team, kind of this goes back to content. Like if you have a content team, putting out content is the job, and that's awesome to do that. Working closely with a content team to create an engaging blog post or an engaging video or an engaging tutorial, right? Working closely with your content team to do that. Because like I was saying, that's the job, right? The job is to put out amazing content for an amazing community that's thriving. I think those are really, really good ways to do that. Another piece to that too is, running workshops, like company sponsored, whatever the company is, whatever the product is, running a workshop where people know going into it, like all we're going to be doing is talking about this product and showing how to do X, Y, and Z with this product, right?
Yeah.
People know getting into that situation that they're going to be sold to, right? Because it's a company sponsored thing. And I think that's the way to do it too, right? Or even if you are at a conference and you're talking about something or a product, talk about it in a general sense, but also kind of weave your product in there a little bit and say, oh, and for example, I'm going to be using this, your mileage may vary, but at least they know, oh, okay, so this is how you do it with this. Cool, I'll take note of that. And then you flip the script back to generalizing the conversation, the talk. I think those are some good ways to kind of get that ball rolling, so to speak.
Oh. I see. All right. Noted. So now I have another question when it comes to metrics. So now when you are trying to push a new product out into the dev marketplace, what metrics do you take to measure the success of the product adoption efforts within developer communities?
Yeah, that's another great question. That really depends on whether or not your product that you have and that you're advocating for is closed or open source. Um, for the companies I've seen, one of the metrics, DevRel
Yeah.
teams, one of the metrics I've seen is NPM installs, right? That you can get that information, right? You can see forks on GitHub. I think a lot of that is a great way to measure adoption from that area. Another way is, connecting to some type of CRM or some type of, data warehouse or anything like that to pull metrics down of signups, whether that's a free sign up or a paid sign up, right? That's another good way of doing it. But I think it really boils down to what the developer relations team has access to in order to get those metrics, what tooling that team is using to gather those metrics, and whether or not that software is open or closed source or paid. I think those are kind of all the things you really need to take into consideration to really know and understand if the developer community is using it. Perfect example. Let's take just an example, and I won't name any names, but let's just say there is a product out there to create mobile apps that is open source, right? And you can install it with npm. Being able to see what that npm data looks like in monthly installs or weekly installs, and you can see that growing,
Yeah.
that's a great way to see product adoption, right? Yeah, so I mean, being able to do it that way, I think is a really important part of that.
Ah, noted, noted. So now I know that before you as the developer advocate or the team come up with metrics to measure the product's adoption efforts, identify developer personas. So can you give insight on how to iterate developer persona targets the product?
Yeah, so I think when you're looking at personas, right, you kind of have to look. There's a really big picture there, right? A lot of the times, at least in the experiences that I've had, when you come up with a persona, you're trying to base the persona off who you are, right? But you can't do that because everybody's different, right? There's Chris and there's Sophia and there's Ariel and there's April and there's Jim, and all of these people do something different, and they all have different experiences in life,
Yeah.
and they all have various experience in their career and their knowledge base and what they're doing and what they're working on. Different locales, right? Whether that's in the United States or in Australia or Africa, India, all over the place. Being able to try to break that down and kind of get a location of where people are that are using
Yeah.
the product, right? And trying to break that down a little bit. Trying to, if you know who that person is, maybe you know one person, but you know multiple people that are almost like that person. So kind of building out like a persona around, a developer that lives in Austin, Texas, that has a 4-year degree, that is a full stack developer, things like that. Being able to kind of just connect those dots a little bit, but taking all that information, the demographic information, and what you've seen in the community, and kind of bring that together in house and kind of put those personas together. I think that's a good way to
Yeah.
figure out who you could target, for those products.
Awesome. Wow, that was very, very cool. And yeah, I think that before overall creating a strategy to push a product into the market space or the marketplace, they need to first of all understand who the product is for. Not every tool or every product is for every developer. Like a front end dev would not need let's say a tool about machine.
Oh, we lost Sophia again. Does anybody have any questions for me while we are vibing? And anybody else that is new and joined, want to say hi? If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. You're back.
Yes. So another thing I have to ask is, do you think that it's yeah? So another thing I have to ask is, is it important for the DevRel team to collaborate with the product and the engineering team to enhance adoption?
That's a great question. And to answer Ellie's question, it is going, Ellie. We're good. Almost finished with my coffee. Okay, is it important for DevRel teams to collaborate with product and engineering teams to enhance adoption? 100%. Developer relations is kind of like I like to think of it as like a big Venn diagram, right? There's a little bit of marketing. You have marketing and you have sales and you have engineering and you have product, and then you have DevRel right in the middle. And we kind of have a piece in all of that, right? And we're not marketing in the traditional sense. We're not product in the traditional sense, or engineering or sales in the traditional sense, because we're not just full force in the product world or engineering. We're taking bits and pieces from everything, crafting a mission, crafting an initiative, crafting an effort to drive product adoption to the developers. Chances are someone in sales, someone in marketing, someone in engineering or product might not have those conversations with the developers on the front lines, right? They might not be at those conferences with those developers, right? They are relying on the DevRel team, and it's not always the case, but they're relying on the DevRel team to let the community know of all the cool stuff that we're doing. Like all the cool stuff that we're doing at DO, we have amazing things coming up, and we have shipped amazing things, and it's an exciting time, right? My job is to get that information out to the world when I can do that. So being able to work with product and let them know, oh hey, listen, a developer or someone in the community said the color contrast of this wasn't working, right? Let's run an accessibility audit in whatever tooling we have to see what's going on, right? Or somebody on an engineering team, if somebody was having issues with submitting a form, who knows, right? Go back to the engineering team and say, hey, this is what I was hearing from the community. I've also tested it. I've worked with this person. We did a Zoom call or a Google Meet, and they showed me what was going on. I documented it. Here's what's happening, right? Marketing is the same thing. Oh, hey, I heard about these cool things that we can do that company X is doing. Maybe we should kind of look at that and see like what we could also do to kind of enhance our presence. Sales, oh, I talked to somebody, and I'm going. There's a reason I'm saying all these things. So I'm going somewhere with this. Even at the end of the day, we are selling the product, right? If we're talking about it, we're trying to make it sound amazing, and we're trying to sell it. We're not expecting someone to sign a check in front of us, right? But when we have those conversations and someone says, oh yeah, I think our company might be interested, this is kind of cool. Now you can take that information, you can pass that off to a salesperson, right? Or a sales engineer, right? And all of that boils down to DRQLs. I'm a big proponent of DRQLs, DevRel qualified leads. Being able to show and prove value through various funnels based on the community and what the community is coming to you and talking to you about, as well as you going out and talking to the community and then gathering that feedback. So it's extremely important to work with all of these teams, right? Even
Yeah.
sales, marketing, product, engineering, design, having cross collaboration relationships with these teams, it makes the whole bigger picture a lot stronger.
That was very, very insightful. And I hope that's the get work basically internal on the to the to save everyone's be
Yeah.
so now
And it should be that way too,
now
because we want to work
yeah
as a
a question
well-oiled machine, right? We want to be able to
yeah
be collaborative. You don't want to work in a silo, right? I'm very thankful for where
yes
I'm at. My team, we get to work with everybody in the organization, and it's great because you get to learn about people, you get to learn about their role, you get to learn about what they're doing, insights into what they're doing, what their team is doing. If you're just working in a silo, on any team anywhere, it doesn't have to be developer relations. You're not getting a chance to learn, and a big part of the role in your career is learning. We're learning new stuff every day. So I am very grateful that I get to be at an amazing company on an amazing team, that I get the chance to do those things.
I agree. Yes, and like James said, the value of collaboration with several really resonates. Like it's amazing. So yeah, a question I have relating to community building, product adoption. So if you were pushing out a product to the marketplace, how would you approach community support?
That's a good question. How do you approach community building to support product adoption? Well, first and foremost, you have to have a product, right, to push out there. Um, I've seen it over and over again. Um, Having the product to push out there is very, very important. Having a product that's almost ready for general availability is important, to start stirring up the talk, right, and getting people engaged. You have to really boil it down to where your community lives, right? Community can live in a bunch of places. Your community could live in Discord. Your community could live on Slack. Your community could live on Twitter, right? A big part of the DO community is on Twitter.
Yeah,
Your community could live in Blue Sky or Hackaderm. Your community could live on YouTube or LinkedIn, Reddit, Stack Overflow. So supporting product adoption and building out and approaching that community, you really have to identify where your community is first, and that just comes with the territory. Identifying what you can see. If you're not using any type of tooling that's out there to kind of pull this information in, just being out there and being aware, like popping into Twitter and seeing if people are talking about the company on Twitter or Slack or a Discord. Are people commenting on YouTube, right? Are people commenting on LinkedIn posts? Trying to pinpoint where all those people are at and then going to where they are. You don't want them coming to you, which it does happen, but you want to go where they're at, right? You don't want them to think, right? You don't want to make them think too much. You want easy access to various things, right? And I think that's really how you start to do the community building piece of that, is by
Yeah.
identifying where that community lives and then approaching them where they're at instead of having them come to you.
Oh, I see. So now, speaking of community, where do you think is the best place to host a community? Because you mentioned that a community can be on Twitter, on Discord, on Stack Overflow, on Reddit, on LinkedIn. So where do you think is the best place to build a community where you would be able to reach your target developers?
I think Twitter is a great start, right? I think if you can ignore um like if you can a lot of people are indifferent about Twitter, just because it's Twitter, right? If you can just kind of focus on the community piece of it, I wouldn't be where I'm at without Twitter. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't be where I'm at today in my career without Twitter, because I've met a lot of people through the community on Twitter, and then we turned out to be in real life friends that we've met at conferences and meetups and have worked together at companies. I think Twitter is a great place to start building that community. Second, I would say either Slack or Discord. And the reason I say that is I'm an old school Slack user. I love Slack. If you have a community Slack that's open,
Yeah.
that's a great way to start building that community. And a company, it's your company's community Slack, right? So a lot of people within your company are in that Slack, helping out, triaging issues, different things like that. And Discord would be another one. I'm not amazing at using Discord, but I have people on my team and people
Yeah.
at DO, and we have a community Discord that are great at using Discord. I am not that great at using Discord, but if you put me in Slack, I can use Slack all day long. But Discord offers a lot of other features when it comes to community building that Slack has just, from what I've seen over years and what I've heard, that just kind of lacks a little bit, right? A lot of companies, just, have moved away from discourse and Slack in favor of Discord. Whatever gets you closest to the community to have conversations is the tool to use, in my opinion. You don't have to use one or the other. Whatever suits your needs and your company's needs is the best tool for you and your company, right? So I would say between Twitter, Slack, and Discord, I think those are the three best places to start building that community.
I see. Well, thank you for that. Because before the conversation, I'm all about Discord communities because I mean it's easy to when I my developer advocate role at Pieces, I helped manage the Discord community. So I was really into Discord. And for me, I would say that Discord and Slack are great place for you to build your community. So yeah. And I thought about building a community on Twitter. So yeah, I think that's a great key take from this chats.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can reach more people on Twitter than I can in a Slack or a Discord, right? But
Wow.
that is just because I've built my network up on Twitter for years, right? Somebody that is getting into the space that's probably newer to Twitter, they might not have as many people in their network, right? So not as many people are going to see when you try to reach out to the community. You start trying to build a community, but the more people that
Yeah.
see it, the best. And wherever the people are, use that as your platform to engage, right? You do the research and kind of narrow that down. Like you have more people. If you have more people in Twitter than a Slack that you started or a Discord or anything like that, then figure out
Yeah,
where you are going to have the biggest impact.
I see. Well, that was insightful. So while because it's been almost an hour. So while we wrap up, one more for you. What's an advice you give? Oh, sorry for this. So, what's an advice you would give a developer currently struggling with product adoption?
Oh, advice I would give to a DevRel team or developer advocate that is struggling with product adoption. Oh, I would say try the product out for yourself, right? You should already know how the product works. And if you were a developer prior to that,
Yeah,
you'll see the issues from someone on the outside, right? Put yourself in the user's shoes. Play with the tool, play with the product, see how it is, and get your feedback first. Because the problems you're experiencing might be the same problem someone else is experiencing, right? Take that back to the team before going to the community.
yeah,
Then go out to the community and just ask questions, right? Just ask. What do you like about this product? What don't you like about this product? My DMs are open. Be nice about it, be constructive, of course, but let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me play around with it a little bit and identify bottlenecks and pain points. Bring that information back to me so I can let the company know. Building that, this kind of goes full circle, right? We were talking about building trust early in this conversation. Build that trust and funnel that information through a pipeline to your product and engineering teams, and then take that back and leave a little bit of a gap open for more information. Because word of mouth is a big part of this, right? If a
yeah,
developer is going to use your product and they have an issue with it, you take that information back, it gets fixed, it gets pushed out. Now that developer can use the product and they really love it, they're going to tell another person about it at another company, or they're going to tell a peer or a friend, right? And that might spark some interest. And then now that person's going to come back,
yeah,
right? So you can see how it kind of snowballs. That's what I would say if you're having issues with product adoption. And just making really fun content. Like, you don't have to make boring content, right? Like, just like when you give a conference talk, nobody wants to read a black and white slide full of bullet points. I sure don't, right? So I make my slides fun and engaging, right? Do that with your content. You could make fun videos and, fun memes and, really, really great sounding blog posts and stuff like that. Like, dry content may or may not get you somewhere, right? But have fun with it. Have fun with it as much as you can. And I think that's a good way to kind of fill in those gaps when you're having issues with product adoption.
yeah. I have to agree with everything. When you build trust with the in the faculty, um, at least 70% tell their dear friends, and as it develops from my development experience, that fellow development, I mean, they use that. So this was that so if you can build the trust in the developer community, you get devs there to use the products, you are likely to get more devs from as well. So yes, that was an amazing advice.
Thank you.
Right. So so as we wrap this, do you have any last words, or what should we expect from you for
Ooh.
for the coming days? Do you have any book? Yeah, because at the beginning of our chat, you said that you're going to write a book. So do you have any book coming up? Do you have any content coming up? What should we?
Yeah, so I'll end it this way. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter. I am at Salt and Burnham. So follow me on Twitter. If you have any questions about me or Do, follow me there. I'm going to be at a couple conferences here at the end of the year. Connect Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, and then Commit Your Code in Texas. So that'll be fun. Those will be some fun events. Stay tuned to the DigitalOcean Twitter account. We're doing a lot of cool stuff. So if you want to stay up on that, subscribe to the newsletter to kind of stay up with what we have going on at DO. And a book, I talk about this book all the time. I just talked about it yesterday. I feel like it is quote unquote the book that every developer advocate should have in their library. It's called The Business Value of Developer Relations by Mary Thingvall. That is definitely a book to purchase and read front to back and read it 10 times and
I have that.
put it under your pillow. It's a great book. Yeah, it's a great book. I was just having these conversations yesterday with people on my team and people across the org. I suggest it to everybody. So if you can purchase it and reimburse your company, do it, because it's a great book.
Yes. I agree with that. I book and the book has so much value to it. That the book is amazing. Yes, if you can do well to purchase the book at all right. So for the 12th episode of DevMar for the network issue on end. Hopefully I get to resolve that before the next one. But our next podcast, next live podcast will be coming up on October. So if you enjoyed like, subscribe, and leave a comment or me towards next for thank you very much for joining us today. And I really did learn.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys.